Today I'm telling you my own story and experience with chronic stress and how I've been working to get out of it. Let's go. Hi, I'm Jessica Vallant, a physical therapist and Pilates teacher, and I want to bring science-based knowledge, empathy, courage, support, love, and hopefully some fun to the journeys we have with our bodies. There is hope and strength in your body, and my goal is to help you find it. Hi, welcome back to Meet Your Body. I am so excited to have you here today. We are talking about chronic stress, and I have told you snippets of this story quite a bit in different episodes and in different places, but I thought it was time that we put it all down in one place. So after you listen to this episode, make sure you go back and listen to episode 6 sometime soon, because in that one I talk a lot about stress and anxiety and the power of movement and how important movement can be with those two issues going on. So definitely go back and listen to episode 6 where I talk about that. Today, like I said, I'm going to dive into kind of my story a little bit because I have a feeling you might be listening and hear some familiar things that I mentioned. You might be able to even say, oh, that sounds just like me. I think so many of us are in this place, and I have really noticed, to be honest, I think it was yesterday, I was on a walk and felt this sense of kind of calm and peace that I haven't felt in a really long time. And it hit me, wow, I think some of the work that I've been doing for a while now might finally kind of be culminating and coming together. And so that really kind of motivated me to talk to you all about it today. So let's dive in. So I would not say at all that I was a particularly nervous or stressed kid or have that in my history. I've always been a really optimistic person. I've always chosen to look on the bright side. For a long time, my belief was everything happens for a reason. Things turn out for the best. I definitely lived in that place. So I was definitely that glass half full kind of person. And I also happened to be the firstborn and the oldest girl, the oldest daughter, which we know can lead to definitely what I was, which was an overachiever. I was an overachiever 10 times over. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to be the best, and if not the best, definitely in the top 10%. I was a people pleaser. I did it to please people, to try to have value for sure. Looking back, I can say all of those things. I graduated high school when I was 17 years old. I graduated college when I was 20 years old, and I went straight to physical therapy school. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to be, and I wanted to get it done. And I graduated when I was 21 years old out into the world. So again, looking back, I can say I put a lot of pressure on myself to, and I'm saying this in air quotes, to be good, to be a good person, to be recognized, to be seen as responsible, to be seen as doing the right thing, to help people. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that. And I even remember one moment in college crying in a stairwell because I had applied to physical therapy school. And I got probably my lowest grade. It was like a B- or a C+. I got on a test in college. And I was sure that meant I was never going to PT school. I was sure that meant it was done. I had failed. I remember bawling in the stairwell, and that being a really, really big, real fear for me. So that was kind of my history. But again, I would never say it was nervous or stressed. It was just a lot of pressure I think I put on myself to do those things, to do a lot of things, and to do them really well. But I worked well with that stress. So kind of before I move on to the next place, I do think it's important that we kind of talk about the difference between stress and even chronic stress and anxiety. So stress, when we feel stress, it's actually an adequate response to stressors that are happening in our life. And typically that's going to be more short term, and it happens in response to a specific stressor. So let's say you're moving, right? You're getting your home ready to move. You have a big project due at work. You have something big for school. You're applying for school. So many things can cause that kind of stress. But typically that's going to be short term. It has a beginning and an end, and it goes away when the stressor goes away. And some of us, like me, actually do work really well under that kind of short term stress. I am that person you want on your team in a crisis. I can make a list. I can prioritize. I know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. And so I kind of can work fairly well under that short-term stress and pressure, which is what I think I really relied on for a very long time. And so that's stress. And again, it's very adequate. It's an adequate response to a stressor happening in our life. Then you can get into chronic stress. And I talk more about this in episode 6. So I'll just kind of gloss over it here. But chronic stress is where that stress becomes much more long-term, where maybe there's not an end to it. So instead of a work project, right, that's suddenly due, or an application where you get to find out how you did, right, there's a beginning and end to that stress, it becomes more chronic. So there's still a stressor happening. You know kind of what's causing it, but it becomes much more long-term. Let's say you have a long-term illness and you're always testing and awaiting results. That can definitely lead to chronic stress. Let's say you're in relationships, or it's family relationships that's causing that chronic stress for you, or a job that you don't want to be in. A lot of things, and especially in our society now, that stress really can lead to chronic stress, which can have a lot of detrimental effects on our health. But stress, even chronic stress, still would have that specific stressor that you can put your finger on. Anxiety, on the other hand, tends to be kind of characterized as this feeling of anxiety. It's this feeling of possibly fear, being unsure, those kind of things, that fight or flight response. But you don't know why. Like, you can't put your finger on why. There's not a stress or causing it. It's just this very general feeling of, I'm afraid, or things aren't right, or things aren't going to go well. That feeling that sits constantly in the pit of your stomach. So that would be anxiety. So I thought it was good for us to kind of cover what that is. But again, going back to who I was then and what I was going through, it really was more about kind of that overachiever status. And it was stress. So I was having an adequate response to a lot of stress that I was putting on myself. But I was getting through it, and I was having good results. So I didn't see any need to change. And then all of this came to a head in my early 20s. So like I said, I graduated from PT school. I got my first job. Quickly, I was hired into another job where they told me right away I was the youngest person they'd ever hired. They did not think they would hire me. They didn't think I was qualified, but I came in for an interview, and they wanted to check me out because they thought I would actually do a good job. So already I had that pressure going into this pretty intense job. I was going through a lot of personal stress at the time, a lot of things happening in my life. And with that, and a lot of hours worked and trying to prove myself, I started to make poor choices to try to, again, be that people pleaser and that overachiever. I started to make choices that affected my health. I wasn't eating very much. I was working a ton, so I wasn't eating a lot. I was definitely drinking too much alcohol. I wasn't sleeping very well. I was working constantly, as I said. And so that was building, unbeknownst to me at the time. Again, I just thought, I'm just dealing with this. I have strategies. They weren't good ones, but I have strategies to deal with all the stress. Just keep piling it on. I can do it. I'm the achiever. I'm the people pleaser. Just keep giving me more. And I remember it all came to a very big head. And one thing I noticed, I distinctly remember, is my hair started falling out. And that was the first thing that told me there's something not right here. Like, physically, I can't do this. Something is not going well. That, along with many other things, kind of told me I have to change some stuff here. So I made some really big life changes, and I went through therapy at that time. Again, it was my early 20s, and I truly believe therapy saved me at that time. I came out knowing inherently that I couldn't live to please everyone else anymore. that I had value in and of myself. It was really important time, and it truly turned that around for me. So again, this was probably mid-20s at this point, 24, 25. I learned that power that stress can have on our bodies, and it really gave me a different way to live and different strategies to deal with my stress. So I thought I was all good at that point. I came away truly, I can't even emphasize enough how much it changed the way I looked at myself and the way that I moved through the world. I changed jobs. I made different decisions. So I thought everything was going to be great at that point. And of course, I kept going through hard things, as we do. Absolutely. I was diagnosed with endometriosis and had my first surgery. I had a lot of health scares. I went through infertility and more surgeries. You guys know all of this in my story. So, of course, as we do, I went through more stress. But I think because of the strategies that I had learned at that point, it never got to a place of true chronic stress or true anxiety. And if it started to hit that line, which definitely sometimes it did, infertility was very, very hard on me personally. I definitely got close to those lines. Somehow either the situation changed or I was able to use some strategies to keep myself from getting to that edge again. Then in early 2019, we were living back in Denver, my husband and I and our two really young kids. And my father-in-law, who lived here in the area, passed away very, very suddenly and somewhat traumatically at the time. And we were put in charge of my mother-in-law's care, who had just in the very early stages of Alzheimer's. And it was literally overnight. She was living at home independently with my father-in-law, and the next day they were not. The next day they needed constant care. And he passed away, and we were in charge of finding that care. And again, as it happens for some of us, that short-term stress, it was a true stressor. Absolutely. We went through short-term stress and the things we needed to do, and we were able to do it because, again, I can work well under stress. My husband can. We're a good team. Our kids are amazing and tagged along with us everywhere we went. And so we were able, absolutely, to get it done as a team. Not understanding at the time, I think, how much of a toll it was taking out of us. Because as you all know, when you're listening, you know sometimes you just do what has to be done. There are times you cannot walk away from the stress. This is something that had to be done, and it had many facets to it. There was a lot going on at the time, in addition to taking care of her and settling the estate and so many things. But you do it because you have to do it. And so you put one foot in front of the other, and you absolutely do it. And at the same time, we were trying to run our businesses and do everything that needed to be done. And then in late 2019, I had my hysterectomy, my most recent surgery, hysterectomy, prolapse repair. Absolutely, I felt prepared for it from an emotional level, still understanding how much physical stress it was. And it was right around that time, right after that, really, that it hit me that I was in fight or flight. And I had been since early 2019. And I shouldn't be anymore, because we were out of that immediate stress place. Like, we had dealt with what needed to be dealt with. My mother-in-law was in a facility close to us. We felt good about it. The estate was settled. All of that stuff that we had been doing on a constant daily basis was settled. So the stressor was gone. But it didn't matter. My body was still in constant fight or flight, and I felt it. I mean, it was literally like a buzz all the time in my body. Like, I felt reactive. What's happening? What's going to happen next? I don't know what's going to happen next. I can't sleep. I can't do anything else because I have to be ready for what's coming next. And that's what I really noticed. And I remember talking to my husband about it, and we said, gosh, we really need to work on getting down out of this. 2020 is our year. 2019 has been really hard. And so 2020 is our year. Like, we said that to each other in December. And then March of 2020 hit. We moved, by the way, we moved houses in March of 2020. And then the world shut down. And I can look back and kind of laugh, obviously, now, because we have to a little bit. But there was no coming down from that fight or flight for me. And so I don't know if it would have started the way it had in March of 2020 if I hadn't already been there, but I was already in that place and had just barely started to heal from my surgery. It was just barely getting, like, dipping my toe back into what life would look like recovered from surgery and after 2019 when the world shut down in March of 2020. And again, that was a real stressor, okay, for you as well. I am sure everyone has stories from that time. Everyone went through true stressors, right? We were all there. The world changed, real stress, real stressors came in. I felt like my mind was in 1,000 different places all at once. I was not sleeping. I was staying up late. We were constantly researching, right? We were on our phones all the time checking news, but also researching PPP loans and then all the different school regulations and keeping the kids home from school, and all of the things were happening at once. Again, real stressors, dealing with them. But what I found was I was not dealing with them in the efficient, healthy way that I had done in the past. I was again in that fight or flight already, and this took me into another level of fight or flight. And what I realized was I was in a place of anxiety, and I had my very first panic attack in that time. I remember sitting in the rocking chair in our room in the morning, and my heart started racing. And I went right into my husband, who was in the shower. I'm like, oh my gosh, my heart. I was checking my own heart rate, which I know how to do, and it was high. I'm usually low, and it was high. And I didn't understand it, and I took a shower, and it happened again, and it hit me. I'm having a panic attack. That is what's happening right now. My body is telling me, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention, and you need to find some strategies here. I got to a place, and one of the ways I knew it was anxiety was I remember very specifically thinking about opening my email and almost wanting to throw up. I was so nervous about it. I'm like, I can't. I had so much fear around opening my email, and not even about a specific one. I had no idea what was going to be there, but I had gotten to the place I was so nervous. Nervous isn't even the right word. I was just so anxious and in that fight or flight all the time that my nervous system was truly dysregulated. And that's what that is. When you are having these nervous system responses to something that does not designate that kind of response, right? It wasn't someone in front of me with a knife. It wasn't a bear. It was my email. If that was causing the same response in me, truly, and I can tell you right now, I would probably have been less anxious if a bear was in front of me. Because I know what to do about that. I have some strategies. I can figure that out. But I didn't about this email stuff and how to live in a world that I didn't understand. And I'm sorry, I'm on a tangent, but it was a truly hard place for me personally. And that's what I felt. So I had gone into this place of anxiety, meaning I couldn't even put my finger on it anymore. Yes, it was all these things built up, but there wasn't one specific thing. There wasn't one specific stressor. It was just all happening at once. And that's where I found myself. And to be honest, I could have kept living there because I would have. I absolutely would have, to, again, go back to kind of pleasing people, making people happy, taking care of things. I would have stayed there and kept fighting through it. But I think something in me realized I just couldn't anymore. I absolutely couldn't. I didn't know where my health was going to go if I kept fighting through that all the time. I didn't know where my health was going to go. I didn't know what kind of mom I was going to be anymore. And so I just knew that I had to make some changes because I couldn't be like that anymore. I just couldn't. I wasn't enjoying things. I wasn't having all this excitement in the future like I used to. I wasn't in a place of glass half full. I wasn't in a place of glass half empty either. I was truly at a place where I just didn't care what the glass was. And that, or I was just scared of the glass. And that scared me, I think, because that's not me. Wherever I had gone to a place of, again, dysregulated nervous system, anxious all the time, I didn't like that. I didn't like how that felt. So I wanted to do some things about it. And that's where I was in the very end, I'd say around December of 2021. where I was making my goals for 2022. And my biggest goal was just to change that, to do what I needed to do. And I made a decision that that needed to change. And from there, it has become a very, very purposeful, specific goal with very, very purposeful steps to get out of that place. Because I knew it wasn't overnight. It was going to take time and it was going to take work on my part. And again, I told you kind of where I was yesterday, that I feel those clouds parting. And I want to be clear. I feel like some of the visualizations I'm saying sound like depression, which is a true clinical diagnosis. So I am not glossing over that because I truly know that is not where I was. And so I don't want to try to compare my situation to that whatsoever. I am saying from me personally, I was in a place of chronic stress and anxiety. And that was one of the ways it was manifesting. Was again, just feeling kind of like clouds all the time, but anxious in the clouds all the time. And so the fact that that has parted, that I can open my email and feel completely fine now, it's such a good feeling. And I'm still working on a lot of these pieces because I don't want to go back there because I know I could. Like I know enough about myself and I've done enough work now to know that it is something I have to talk myself back from a lot. And why? I don't know. I don't know necessarily why I am this way, but that's where I am. So I want to keep talking myself out of that anxiety place. So I'm going to tell you a few of the things that I have done that have helped me personally, just to see if they possibly help you. But again, I thought sharing my story hopefully can help others out there who might be feeling the same. And there's one other thing I want to talk about first before I tell you the things I did. Is I am not going to talk about therapy because, again, I'm not qualified to talk about therapy, but I will say back in my early 20s, I truly believe therapy helped save my life. And I didn't go that route this time simply because I wanted to try the strategies I had already been taught in therapy first. It just logistically made more sense to me. And again, I had been through therapy, so I wanted to use some of those strategies. But it was absolutely top on my list. If my own strategies weren't going to help me get there, I was ready to get into therapy. So if you are in that place, I highly recommend therapy if it's something that makes sense for you. And I always will absolutely talk about the benefits that therapy can have in our lives. All right, so here are some of the steps that I have taken to help get me out of that place of chronic stress, out of that place of constant anxiety, and that really, I think a lot of it in the terms of dysregulated nervous system, because for me, it really did feel like constant fight or flight. That's the part that I feel like with the anxiety, it's still going to be with me. It's my personality a little bit to go there. So I can talk, again, I can get myself out of that place, and I have a lot of strategies for that. It really was that dysregulated nervous system that took me to a place of, all right, I have to fix this, that constant fight or flight. So the first thing I did was just made the decision that something needed to be done. And that doesn't mean you decide and it's gone. No, it doesn't work that way. But by making the decision, it means that I was acknowledging that it was something that was going on and that I was going to put my energy towards figuring it out. So I truly believe we have to make a conscious decision. And this goes for anything, whether you're trying to add movement or fitness to your life, or you're trying to figure out an injury that you have, or you're trying to repair a relationship in your life, whatever it is, you truly have to make a conscious decision. And this is the same thing. So I recognized that it was a problem and I made a decision to work on it. And then my very first goal that I wrote down for 2022, when I told you I was doing my goals, was that I wanted to laugh more. That's what I wanted. It was again, I wouldn't say it's an easy goal, but it seems more that we would write, oh, I want to feel joy. I want to do all that. I just wanted to laugh more. I just wanted to laugh. I had been just in such a place of, I think, seriousness, even since early 2019. Like, I have to fix this. I have to fix this. I have to fix this. And then into 2020, I have to fix this. I have to do right by my kids, and I have to do right by my members and my business and my husband and my parents and my mother-in-law. I want to do everything that I can to make this as good as I can for everybody else. And it was just a real place of seriousness. And I had really gotten into a lot of podcasts and a lot of things around that just felt very big and very heavy. And I needed that, okay? I needed to learn and I needed to be that person. Absolutely. There was a lot that was learned during that time that I needed. And I realized I wanted to laugh. I wanted to step a little bit away from that and give myself a break and just laugh. So I literally found, I think, 1 or 2 TV shows for my husband and I to try out and watch, and 1 podcast that I was going to start listening to for that reason alone. Like, I gave myself permission to listen to a podcast that wasn't teaching me something. Because somehow I felt like, and that's a whole other podcast, I guess, but I felt like every minute of my day needed to be productive. And somehow I felt that listening to a podcast that was just funny wasn't productive, and I decided I was going to let that go. I was going to completely let that idea go that I wasn't being productive because laughing was important. And it was awesome. There was 1 episode I listened to 3 times because it made me laugh so hard. So that for me was one thing. I just made a decision to laugh. That's what I wanted. I think another important thing, the next step really, and you don't have to do these in order, I'm just saying them kind of how they came to me, is recognizing what the stressors are for you. Okay. You can't always change them, but having an awareness of the stressors in your life is important. Just having that awareness. Again, you can't always change them. If it's family members or you're caretaking, or if it's your job, you can't always change them. But by putting some awareness on, oh, that's actually causing me stress, right? Like, I know when I'm short with my kids, when I lose patience with my kids, 99 times out of 100, it's actually not something they did in that moment. It's something that I'm upset about from an hour or 2 ago, either from, again, maybe a mean email I got, or maybe whatever, something happened out on the street. Maybe somebody cut me off. I don't know. But I have enough awareness to say, oh, that wasn't my stressor. My kid not making their bed wasn't really my stressor in this situation. It was that I was upset from 2 hours ago from that stressor. So have some awareness of your stressors. And for me, when I tried to put some awareness on it, a big part was social media. And I mean Instagram kind of specifically because that's where I am most of the time. It was social media. And when I look further into it, it wasn't social media itself, right? It was how I was using it, either too early in the morning, too late at night, taking too much of my identity from it, putting way too much stake in what people I had no idea who they were saying, following accounts I had no business following. So that's what I mean by social media. So I decided very specifically that, 1, I would unfollow any account that wasn't serving me in some way, shape, or form, educating me, either education, encouragement, something. So I did some unfollowing. But more than that, I decided I would not look at my phone before breakfast. I had stopped looking at my phone in bed. After dinner, stopped looking at my phone. Before breakfast, stopped looking at my phone. I didn't check email. I didn't check social media. I didn't check anything. And I have kept that habit till now, and I can't imagine changing it. And that's been really important because to me, when I'm on social media or if I get an email, I feel the immediate need to respond and answer. And this happened recently. I checked my email and I shouldn't have, but I checked my email and it was, again, kind of a rude email. That's okay. It happens. No big deal. But I had this really big upset response to it. I'm like, I have to answer right now and I have to set the record straight. And my kids needed breakfast. Like, it wasn't fair to my kids. They don't need me in that state. It wasn't fair to me because I felt like I needed to do everything at once. And it wasn't fair to the person I was responding to because I was probably being short with them when all I had to do was wait an hour or 2. So again, that's just being aware of me and how I am and how that was a big service to stop doing that. So I cut my phone off from social media and work and emails after dinner and before breakfast. And that's not always possible for everyone, but at least keeping it out of bed was really, really helpful. So the next thing I did was I committed to more walking outside and getting fresh air. And you all know how important walks are to me. I've talked about it all the time. We just have a walking challenge in Unlimited right now. But again, committing to that time and knowing it's okay if I'm not productive, I need to get outside and walk. And I credit that for a huge part of my healing during all of this. Another thing is setting boundaries. I have read this and I think it's true. It holds true in my life. Any resentment that you find yourself feeling towards people can oftentimes be traced to you not having set a clear boundary with them. And I remember reading that. And again, this was back, I don't know why emails did this to me back then. This was back in 2020 when I felt just stressed on all levels. And I remember getting an email that was honestly a very valid email for this person to write. There was nothing wrong with it, except it set off this big resentment in me. And I realized it's because I just hadn't set a clear boundary around that. Whether it's the hours that you're available to talk, let's say your office hours, or let's say that it is a refund policy that you have, whatever it is, or what duties you have at work. Whatever it is, a lot of times when we're asked to do something or we feel a resentment, it's because we haven't set a boundary. And again, that was on me, right? That email showed me that's not this person coming at me. That's just me needing to be really clear on business or personal or parental or relationship boundaries. And so for me, a part of that was saying no to things. And as a people pleaser, that's tough. But I had to say no to some really, really big, important projects in my life because I knew that it was just putting me over the edge with stress. I did not have the capacity. That's all I kept hearing and myself say. I don't have the capacity for this. I just don't. I'm going to drop some ball along the way. And it can't be my kids. It can't be my husband. It can't be my business or unlimited. I don't want it to be any of those things. And so what are some balls that I can voluntarily put down so that I can keep these other ones that mean so much to me going? And those were the boundaries and the no's I had to say. Another thing I focused on was sleep, because that was a big one, telling me I was over capacity. I was up till midnight or 1 a.m. every night working on my computer because I wouldn't work when I had them home, or when I was with them. So I would get them to sleep, and then my husband and I would sit on the couch and I'd work until midnight or 1 every single night. And that became my norm until I finally realized maybe that wasn't a good norm to have. Again, when you have to do it, you have to do it. And in early 2020, when there was no school and things were crazy, we had to do it. But I realized I was then at a point I didn't have to anymore, and I needed to change that habit, and I had to prioritize sleep. And that's still a hard one for me, but I'm working on it, and I know how important sleep is. Another thing that I make sure I focus on is eating. And we're all different. I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not here to talk to you about what you should eat or anything like that. I just know myself, okay? This is the biggest thing. You have to know yourself. With my endometriosis and my scar tissue in my abdomen, my eating is touch and go, whether I kind of feel nauseous or want to eat or don't want to eat. I just know that can be touch and go a little bit of what sounds good. I also know when I'm really stressed, it's easy for me not to eat, okay? My appetite actually goes down when I'm really stressed. I also know what happens to me when I do not eat, when I don't nourish myself, when I don't give myself calories. And it is not good. It's not good for any of us. It's not good for our health. It's not good for our capacity to deal with stress. It's not good for our sleep. It's not good for our patience levels. So I just made sure I was prioritizing eating and eating really good nutrients, fitting a lot of nutrients into small meals. So let's say I still didn't want to eat, either my stomach or whatever, I would make sure that I was packing in protein, calories, nutrients in my meals. And to be honest, it has helped a ton. Focusing on protein, focusing on filling myself up has been very helpful. And then the final thing, and I'll just be really honest and transparent here. I almost wasn't going to talk about this because it's something I don't have any answers for yet. But for me, I have done a lot of thinking about holding on to what's mine to carry, but knowing what isn't mine to carry. Because I will carry it all. And I kind of want to carry it all, and I don't know how else to say it. I want to carry it all, and I know I can't, and I don't know then how to put things down. When we see them on the news and hear them on social media, I don't know how to not take all that in. And one thing I have heard repeatedly, actually, over the past year, as I think a lot of people feel this way, is that we as human beings were never meant to take in this much information. Like, the amount of information at our fingertips is insane, and we actually weren't made, our brains weren't made to take in this much information. We were really made more to take in just the amount of information in our local communities. And working with our diversity coach, Jessica Van, a few years ago, she talked to me about that as well. As, it's great what you're doing on social media. It's great what you're doing out there, but what are you doing on your street? What are you doing in your local community? What does that look like? And both of those things have really hit me that it's easy just to get out there online, but it can also feel really overwhelming and unknown, which for me actually leads to more anxiety. Versus if I think about, what can I do for my kids' school? What can I do in their classroom? What can I do for their friends? What can I do for my friends? What can I do for my local community? What can I do for my city? What can I do for my block? What can I do for my neighbors? What can I do for my parents? What can I do for my husband? What can I do for my unlimited members? When I think about that, it actually takes away the anxiety and makes it so doable. It makes me excited because I can put a name to it. I can put ideas to it. I can take steps towards that. So that is a part that I have really noticed that has helped me. And again, it's a constant work in progress because my job is online and I'm always online. And it's hard not to want to take all of that. And so I'm always working on it and looking on just how it affects me and how I can help and contribute, make contributions to the world. How can I do that in a way that is going to be the most helpful and also fits in the capacity I have so I can continue to do it? And I want to acknowledge and point out that these are the tips that specifically helped me with stress and chronic stress and those nervous system issues that were caused by what I would consider very typical life issues happening around me and how I processed them. This is not in any way trying to discuss abuse or abusive relationships or any kind of dehumanizing issues that are causing stress in your life. In those cases, please seek out the help that you need. So you have stuck with me for 36 minutes now, and I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you letting me talk to you and share things with you. I appreciate you in your car right now or walking or wherever you are. I am thankful. We're all in this together, and I truly believe that. When I say community, I believe that we are. I also believe we need to help take care of ourselves in order to be able to take care of anyone else out there. That means body, mind, spirit, all the above. We need to take care of our own body, our own mind, our own spirit. We need to take care of that in order to have the ability to take care of others. I hope some of the strategies I talked about today give you some ideas towards that for yourself. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for joining me today on Meet Your Body. If you have a moment, please consider rating and reviewing this podcast as it helps us tremendously. For more resources and workouts, you can visit my website, jessicavallantpilates.com, or find me on YouTube or Instagram at Jessica Vallant Pilates.